5 fragrances that are so good, I have backup bottles. Has that ever happened to you where you purchase a fragrance, you fall in love with it, and even though there is a sea of other olfactive masterpieces on the market, you're like, nope, that's the one that I like, that's the one that I want. I'm gonna end up getting another bottle of this when this one bottle that I have right now runs out. Well, that's certainly the case with me. There's been so many fragrances that I have repurchased throughout the years. In this episode, I'm gonna be sharing with you 5 fragrances that I have backup bottles of, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin today's episode and I give you my thoughts on these 5 fragrances that I have backup bottles of, and I'm also going to try to reason and rationalize and tell you why I end up having backup bottles of these 5 fragrances. But before I dive into the video, I do want to mention that if you're a fan of fragrance-related content, if you love smelling your best, if you like fragrance-related videos, top 10s, giveaways, unboxings, reviews, learning about brand new designer and niche fragrances that just hit the market, do me a favor, click subscribe, hit the bell, and give this video a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. It would really, really mean a lot to me. So again, I want us to kind of start this video in an interactive fashion. If you could just drop a comment down below and let me know what was the fragrance that you repurchased, right? Maybe it was more than one. Maybe there are certain fragrances that throughout the years you're like, you know what? I really love these fragrances, so I'm always gonna repurchase this one as soon as my bottle runs out. And I can tell you, there are certain fragrances where I've gone through like 10 bottles of them throughout the years. As a matter of fact, one of them is in this list, so I'm going to talk about it actually right now. So let's just go ahead and dive into the list. If you want to sample a lot of these fragrances, I know you can at ScentSplit. Not a sponsored video, but I'm just trying to make it easier for you so that you don't go out there and blind buy these fragrances based on my recommendations or anybody's recommendations for that matter. ScentSplit is a fantastic service. You can purchase decants or little samples of a fragrance so you can try them on your skin, know if they work for you or whatever. So the first one, Aventus. I've gone through over 10 bottles of this throughout the years. You've heard the narrative about this one, the most complimented niche perfume ever. Obviously, the presentation has changed quite a bit throughout the years. They used to have the 4-ounce flask, and then they sort of downgraded to the 3.4-ounce bottles. The price went up though. The size went down, the price went up. But I love Aventus. Pineapple, apple, blackcurrant, birch tar, vanilla, some florals, some woods. This is such an executive smelling, professional, clean, refined, compliment getting fragrance. And I will always have a bottle of Aventus in my collection. I wear this fragrance, truth be told, like once a week. Right? And I think that says a lot considering the fact that I have over 3,000 bottles in my collection. So Aventus is one of my favorites. The next one, okay, so I creatively directed this one, right? So of course I'm gonna have multiple bottles of this. So I think I presently have 4 bottles of it in my collection, not to mention the little mod bottles from when it was in production, but this one came out 4 years ago. Can't believe it. In 2019, so almost 5 years ago, next November, 5 years in November, Navus by Navitus Parfums. So for this particular fragrance, and we've kept the formula the same all these years, and I'm very happy about that. This one was composed by perfumer Christian Carbonell, otherwise known as Chris Maurice. He did such an amazing job. Grapefruit, clean vetiver, some clean white florals, a burst of citrus in the opening, these smooth musks in the dry down. This is a phenomenal citrus-based fragrance, fantastic for the office, also a compliment getter. Every time I have worn this in public, I always get compliments. This one in Intimus. For whatever reason, those 2 fragrances get me a lot of compliments. Primas as well. There are some that have been released throughout the years that are a bit more bold and expressive, but Navus is one of my babies. I love this fragrance. It's actually the very first fragrance that I ever released, an exclusive with Oswald Perfumery in New York. So again, you can sample it at ScentSplit if you'd like. If you'd rather go with a bottle, you can get it off the official website. You can get it at Oswald as well. The next fragrance, you're not allowed to make fun of me for this one. I almost begrudgingly included it in this list, but I said, you know what? I might as well because, well, I did repurchase, so why not? Dior Sauvage, the Eau de Toilette. So I purchased this bottle. I remember back in the day with my late friend Carlos, God rest his soul. He put me onto this one. He showed up at my house with like a small decant and he said, let's do a video on it. And he was so eager and so excited to do the video, despite the fact that he wasn't really crazy about it. And he goes, can you believe this is what Dior put out? And I said, yeah, it seems like a deconstructed Aventus where they just kept the citrus and it's so simple, it's so banal. And I remember not being crazy about it initially. initially, and I bought the bottle and I was getting compliments left and right. I'll never forget it. First time I got a compliment with it, I freshly applied. I had just purchased it. I was at Old Navy and the cashier complimented me. And there was another lady who was walking up and down the aisles, and apparently she smelled it on me first. And that must have been, and that was right when the fragrance hit the market, right? So this was several years ago. And the lady behind the counter goes, "Is that you that smells so good?" And the lady next to her said, "Yeah, I thought that was you. I smelled it earlier on in the day or whatever when I was walking up and down the aisles, but it's Dior Sauvage." And so that attention alone and the fact that I realized that, hey, people around me really enjoyed this one, it just became the Swiss Army knife, very versatile fragrance. And so I do have this almost full bottle of Sauvage. Maybe I wore like 10% of it, but it's gonna last me a while, especially considering the fact that now I have the Eau Forte and the Elixir, the Eau de Parfum, the Parfum. I have purchased every single Sauvage that's come out, except for the all over spray, right? I think that one I just never really became too interested in it. This next fragrance, Layton by Parfums de Marly. So you all know about Layton. It's this beautiful vanilla apple type of a fragrance. You have some spices in here, perfect for a night out. It's this great compliment getting, playful, clubbing, you know, date night type of a fragrance. Layton gets a lot of play, a lot of attention, and if we're being honest, for very good reason. Layton is an incredible fragrance. I will never be without a bottle of Layton. Of course, I do prioritize wearing Layton Exclusive. If I can find it, you can probably see it. I can't see it. Oh, here it is. I have the smaller bottle of it. I need to upgrade that one as well. But Layton is amazing, right? Layton Exclusive, a little darker. You have the agarwood and the dry down, composed by Hamid Merati Kashani. It's a beautiful, beautiful fragrance, but the original Layton is very versatile, a lot more versatile than Layton Exclusive. So for that reason, I enjoyed this fragrance very much, and I will always have a backup. Now, the fragrance in the #1 spot, this is one of the unsung heroes from the brand. And it kind of, I don't want to say it upsets me, but it does get glossed over, and I'm a bit bummed because I feel like this one deserves more attention. So this one is absinthe, wormwood, licorice. It's spicy. There's a touch of sweetness in it as well. And as soon as I smelled it, I kind of fell in love with it, and I'll tell you why. Initially, it reminded me of Armani Attitude with more licorice. So it was almost kind of like a hybrid of Lempica's Eau Masculin and Attitude by Armani. And Attitude, as you know, is discontinued. It has not been in production for many, many years. I have 2 bottles of it. That's another one that could have been on this list. But that's a fragrance that I, really miss. And I wish it were still in production, and the bottle looks like a Zippo lighter, and it's a really cool presentation. Well, the fragrance by Killian Paris, and here's the one that I still have in the plastic. This one is called Verte, which translates to the green hour. And of course, it has everything to do with the consumption of absinthe. And, you have the perforated spoon or whatever with the sugar cube, and then you pour it over, and you're supposed to have these hallucinogenic experiences. Well, absinthe that you buy at the stores nowadays no longer have those hallucinogenic properties. But here's my bottle of Verte. And this one, like I said, really does remind me of Armani Attitude, and it conjures up this, element of nostalgia that I really enjoy. Let me know, what fragrances have you repurchased or have backup bottles of? I didn't purchase Navus, obviously, I worked on this one. But what fragrances do you have backup bottles of because you love them so much? Drop your comment down below. Always love the interaction. And of course, if you took anything of value from today's episode, I would really appreciate it if you would consider supporting the channel by clicking subscribe, hitting the bell, and giving this video a thumbs up. It would really mean a lot. Thanks again for watching. I love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow with a new episode. Bye.